Mention Huawei and most people would immediately associate the brand with the latest, high-quality technological products. Within a short 30-year history, Huawei is today a global behemoth competing against the likes of Apple and Samsung, but this hasn't been without controversy. Huawei Technologies was founded in 1987 by Ren Zengfei in Shenzhen, China as a rural sales agent for Hong Kong-based phone and cable network businesses. In the 1996 to 1998 period, Huawei first expanded into metropolitan areas of China as urban populations exploded. During the 1980s, the Chinese government tried to modernize the country's underdeveloped telecommunications infrastructure. A core component of the telecommunications network was telephone exchange switches, and in the late 1980s, several Chinese research groups endeavored to acquire and develop the technology, usually through joint ventures with foreign companies. Ren Zengfei, a former deputy director of the People's Liberation Army Engineering Corps, founded Huawei in 1987 in Shenzhen. The company reports that it had 21,000 Chinese yuan, about $5,000 at the time, in registered capital from Ren Zengfei and 5 other investors at the time of its founding, where each contributed 3,500 Chinese yuan. These 5 initial investors gradually withdrew their investments in Huawei. The Wall Street Journal has suggested, however, that Huawei received approximately $46 billion in loans and other support, coupled with $25 billion in tax cuts, since the Chinese government had a vested interest in fostering a company to compete against Apple and Samsung. Ren sought to reverse engineer and steal foreign technologies with local researchers. It is notable that China has borrowed liberally from Qualcomm and their industry leaders, PBX as an example, in order to enter the market. At a time when all of China's telecommunications technology was imported from abroad, Ren hoped to build a domestic Chinese telecommunication company that could compete with, and ultimately replace, foreign competitors. During its first several years, the company's business model consisted mainly of reselling private branch exchange switches imported from Hong Kong. Meanwhile, it was reverse engineering imported switches and investing heavily in research and development to manufacture its own technologies. By 1990, the company had approximately 600 R&D staff and began its own independent commercialization of PBX switches targeting hotels and small enterprises. The company's first major breakthrough came in 1993 when it launched its CNC08 program-controlled telephone switch. It was by far the most powerful switch available in China at the time. By initially deploying in small cities and rural areas and placing emphasis on service and customizability, the company gained market share and made its way into the mainstream market. Huawei also won a key contract to build the first national telecommunications network for the People's Liberation Army, a deal one employee described as small in terms of our overall business, but large in terms of our relationships. In 1994, founder Ren Zengfei had a meeting with Party General Secretary Jiang Zemin, telling him that switching equipment technology was related to national security, and that a nation that did not have its own switching equipment was like one that lacked its own military. Jiang reportedly agreed with this assessment. In the 1990s, Canadian telecom giant Nortel outsourced production of their entire product line to Huawei. They subsequently outsourced much of their product engineering to Huawei as well. Another major turning point for the company came in 1996 when the government in Beijing adopted an explicit policy of supporting domestic telecommunications manufacturers and restricting access to foreign competitors. Huawei was promoted by both the government and the military as a national champion, and established new research and development offices. Today, Huawei's products and solutions are deployed in over 170 countries, and serving more than 1/3 of the global population. Huawei is the 3rd biggest global manufacturer of routers, switches and other telecommunications equipment by market share after Alcatel-Lucent and Cisco, and the brand recently joined in the ultra-competitive smartphone race. For many observers, Huawei has seemingly come out of nowhere to become one of the world's most dominant technology brands. Primarily a business-to-business company, B2B, its biggest gains have been outside of the public eye. Major customers include telephone and internet operators, which use Huawei's expertise to provide services to customers under their brand name, not Huawei's brand. It also lacked worldwide fame due to its Chinese origins. With up to 1/5 of the world's population within its own Chinese borders, Huawei has been able to grow while still remaining relatively isolated. Huawei's core business can be dissected into 3 business groups. The first group, the Carrier Network Business Group, provides wireless networks, fixed networks, global services, carrier software, core networks and network energy solutions that are deployed by almost all major communications carriers worldwide. For sevens leading up to 2012, the compound annual growth rate of Huawei's managed services division exceeded 70% annually, making Huawei the fastest growing managed services provider globally. The second business group, the enterprise business group, is a perfect complement. Once information is sent and received through pipes, these data have to be analyzed, translated, stored and saved by Huawei's data center and storage products. The third group is the consumer business group, which spearheads the company's push into the personal handset and smartphone segments. Huawei calls this its pipe strategy, focusing on information storage and processing, information transportation and distribution, and information presentation and creation. In April 2017, the brand has announced its plans to create a separate cloud business unit as part of its plans to invest $1 billion to expand its cloud business. Eric Xu, Huawei's rotating CEO, has said that the brand has been pushing its new public cloud platform both independently and by partnering with operators in some countries, such as Deutsche Telekom in Germany. Huawei's personal handset business has steadily built expertise from a low-cost component and assembly provider to the top global mobile phone makers. Although it received no branding benefits, by 2008, it was ranked number 3 in the global mobile equipment market. It has now successfully shed its role as an original design manufacturer, ODM, and begun to manufacture and brand its smart devices. The movement up the value chain from component manufacturer to self-branded smartphone maker is a major part of Huawei's current and future growth strategy. Huawei Consumer Business Group became the third largest smartphone manufacturer by market share in 2017, commanding 10% of the total global market. By far the riskiest, and potentially the most brilliant leadership strategy, is Huawei's rotating CEO system, where a small group of executives takes turns to fulfill CEO duties. Compared to one single CEO who is expected to handle multiple strategies with in-depth insight, a group of rotating and acting CEOs is believed to be more effective as they have time to better prepare for their next term as acting CEOs. This ensures that a wider breadth of expertise is present in the most senior leadership positions over time. Although Huawei has achieved tremendous success in the past 30 years, it has its own unique set of business challenges. Being in the digital and technology sector where things are changing at an exceedingly rapid pace every day, it is even more important for Huawei to put innovation at the forefront of its game. History has shown that monopoly control is temporal. Structural realities in every industry have and will continue to change, as illustrated by BlackBerry's fall from their dominant heights. The biggest mistake of successful companies is complacency. For Huawei, continuing to push forward with R&D is insufficient. As a cautionary tale, Nokia spent 10 times more on R&D than Apple between 2004 and 2007, yet Nokia steadfastly built products to satisfy its current key segments' needs, ignoring the small number of consumers who showed great interest in future touchscreens. Similarly, Huawei must continually seek to satisfy and create future consumer needs rather than their current ones. Although Huawei is an entirely employee-owned private company, it will certainly attract attention from investors looking to latch on to its impressive growth. Should it pursue an IPO and become more widely held, leadership must resist the shareholder value syndrome that has befallen many of tech's greatest innovators. The focus of stock markets on quarterly returns has entrenched a management system in most great companies which discourages dramatic change because game-changing innovations are risky. Stock markets do not initially respond well to disruptive innovators. A significant part of Huawei's leap from regional player to global leader has to do with its astute strategy of brand partnerships throughout its development. In 2003, Huawei established a joint venture with 3Com, a world leader in networking solutions at the time. The venture was called HEC, a conjunction of both companies' brand names. Under the agreement terms, 3Com would simply sell and rebrand products under HEC while reaping the benefits of Huawei's distribution networks and local knowledge. This venture would be extremely profitable for 3Com, but possibly even more valuable for Huawei in the long run, who, after their years learning from the American giant, eventually moved to purchase their global operations in 2007. Unfortunately, U.S. government regulators stepped in over concerns that the Chinese military would gain access to 3Com's cybersecurity unit, which sells software to the U.S. military. Eventually, 3Com was acquired by HP in 2010. However, Huawei succeeded with Symantec. In 2008, it signed a joint venture with Symantec to boost their capabilities in network, security, and storage technologies. More than 50% of Huawei Symantec employees would be engaged in research and development activities with labs in Beijing, Shenzhen, Hangzhou, and India. 3 years later, Huawei acquired all of Symantec's shares in the joint venture. For a company who had only begun R&D in security technology in 2000 and storage in 2004, Huawei was now a global powerhouse in both fields. Huawei continues to be mentioned as suitors in potential game-changing acquisitions as it seeks to deploy its capital. In 2010, Huawei purchased products and services from American companies totaling $6.1 billion. In 2012, rumors began to swirl that Google, who had bought Motorola, was in talks to sell the entire Motorola handset business to Huawei. Their rise to success has included many controversies. One of the main controversies for Huawei is their link to the Chinese Communist Party. With the founder reportedly owning 1% of Huawei, allegedly the Chinese government has some control in the company. Huawei has denied this and said it is owned by its employees. However, some people have noted that the Chinese government has provided more support to Huawei than other Chinese businesses. Other allegations and controversies include involvement with North Korea, involvement in concentration camps, theft and fraud. 5 years ago, consumers may not have heard of the brand Huawei. Today, it is the third largest smartphone manufacturer by market share. Indeed, its growth has been impressive and phenomenal. From 2012 to 2016, Huawei more than doubled its annual sales revenue to $75 billion, with more than half of that coming from outside China. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video and consider subscribing to our channel for more great content like this.